What up, Marsh Pod? Wow, we've had two, I guess three now, really impressive and exciting days of recruit commitments, decommitments, cuts, re-signs, a lot of excitement. And to everyone, as we said on Tuesday, congratulations to those that are signed and best of luck to those that have not. But I'm not going to focus on recruiting because, truthfully, there's so many moves going on. I think it'd be a disservice to not mention somebody. So instead, we're not gonna do a podcast take on it. Instead, we're gonna introduce the pointless power rankings. Okay, this is something that we're gonna check back in on a pretty consistent basis during the season, but I figured this was a good kind of starting point. Where are we at right now in the top 10? And I'm not going to go through every single team in the league, but the top 10. Who are the top 10 teams on as we record this January 18th? We're going to do this again before the season starts when we have a little bit more knowledge of who signed. We'll have some pickup games. We'll have a little bit more information, but this is kind of, we've got preseason tournaments and we've got initial signings going. So let's rank them. Of course, it's pointless because it's always going to be pointless because the product on the court is what matters. But at the same time, it's extra pointless right now because we've played 0 meaningful basketball games. As we get into the regular season, we actually have some games going on. This starts to be not so pointless, but for right now, they're extra pointless power rankings. Here we go. Number 1, Bay Area. It shouldn't be a surprise. Won 5 preseason titles. They look to have a really well-rounded roster that they've added to. I loved the commitments that they got across the board. They're a team that just looked right from the get-go. I mean, there's a lot of just continued understanding of how one another plays, but we saw their group play together so much that it just kind of made sense. Then you add in the addition of Ronnie Shanahan, and you're going to have 2 guys come off the bench that are probably worthy of being a starter. Curtis London, and then who? I don't know, but you've got Dime Hardaway, you've got Caden Shipp. That's probably your starting backcourt. I don't know that Ronnie Shanahan bumps either of them out. I don't think he does, which means Ronnie Shanahan's probably your 6th man, moving Curtis London to 7. But this is a team that looks really good, and I'm excited to see what they look like in games that matter and actual rotations that matter. Number 2, Gotham 5. They got the Matthews and the Williams cousins. That in and of itself is worthy of where they rank. But of course, as everybody else does, I remain committed to believing in anything Tim Pilardi does. And then he also got Mbako and Kyan Anthony on this roster. So not only did he add great new talent to this group, but he's still one of the coaches that you just have faith in. He kind of feels like he being Gotham 5 and Tim Pilardi, they kind of just were like, you know what, Bay Area, you go off and win a bunch of games, that's fine. When it matters, we're going to be there. It's a very Bill Belichickian feeling. Like, it doesn't really matter as long as they had Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. The Patriots were always going to be relevant, and they were always going to matter. So go care about the new shiny toy. Just know that when it matters most, we're going to show up and we're probably going to win. That's where Gotham 5 is. Number 3, Lakeshore Drive. Wouldn't have expected to put them this high entering the offseason, but they've done a really good job. They won in the preseason. Coach Brian Loveless has put together a really good roster. We've seen how much of that influence was from Loveless. We will see once the season starts. But Drake Harvell, Norman Nations, it's a good backcourt. And then the addition of Kyrie Holtzclaw. They needed a big, and they got one. Holtzclaw flashed a lot of off-ball creativity, a good off-ball cutter, a reliable screener, a very good defender. Lakeshore Drive, I think, is legitimate. It's something that they weren't really expected to be, nor were they a ton of that last year. They kind of had that up-and-down feel to them. I think they're a legit team coming into this season. Number 4, Yacht Club. They had some preseason 20 wins, but they added good talent in Jay Laster, Trey Willis. But the biggest thing that they added was stability at the head coaching position. It's not a disrespect to Coach Chad Smith. It's just the fact that Coach Laster has instituted a culture in Miami with Yacht Club that feels legitimate. We did not see this team last season as a group that you believed in could win at a high level. That's changed, and Yacht Club looks to be one of those teams where you have to peg them in as a legitimate concern. And why do I not mind throwing Chad Smith's name out there? Because number 5 is Showtime. He has added incredible talent to this roster. Bronny James has looked legitimate, and I asked this on the broadcast on Saturday. You know, is Bronny James's latest kind of dominance, is that a result of him making drastic improvements, the talent level being different, or somewhere in between? I think it's somewhere in between. He was an unstoppable guard force, made many contested layups. I'm going to give Chad Smith the credit for signing him, whether that's warranted or not. I think we all know what the answer is, but you know what? That's a nod to him. But then he goes out and gets Corey Yams, who looked like a really good combination to be with Bronny. We saw that on Saturday in the Golden State Showdown. This is a roster that had some question marks. You look at the Jason Tatum release, or rather resignation, as he heads to Cascadia. But overall, this is still a roster that's really well constructed, and they've got the piece that you need to win, which is Bronny James. Number 6, Southeast Select, Trey Turner. They added Keandre Baldridge. That's a really good pairing. Trey Turner needs some support, but Trey Turner's maybe the best player in SimWorld Hoops. I know there's other names that are going to be brought up in that argument, but he showed that he can win basketball games with his play style. There's no reason for me to believe that Southeast Select isn't going to be a legitimate team. Are they going to win the championship, or should they be the favorite? Maybe not. But this is kind of where you start getting into that range of, in terms of the teams, right? The top 3, you should really say, I can see them winning a championship. Once you get a little bit further down, you start to wonder, but they have the pieces that make you believe in it. Number 7, Run DMV. The signings have been good. Tyjon Armani, Charles Pinkard, they hung around in preseason tournaments. But just like Gotham 5, the head coach has proven to be capable of winning basketball games. He's capable of developing talent. We saw that showcased with really just the eruption of Cooper Kingy-Cross last season on the scene. I have complete faith that Myron Murray is going to do something similar. Who that is, I don't know. It could be Pinkard. It could be Armani. It could be somebody we don't even think about mentioning right now, but he's proven to be able to develop talent. Is it to the level of Tim Blarty? No, it's not, but that's fine because he still has a track record that it's a one-year track record. I'm going to understand that, but it's still a track record that I think we can start to believe in. Number 8, the Originators. Can I interest you in DJ Wagner? Don't need to say much more. Alyssa Dodge is in line and entering the season. I've said this before. I'll say it again. I'm going to say it until we've been proven wrong. Coach Blarty, Coach Murray, Coach Dodge, each of them developed talent. Johnny Ballgame was not somebody that we looked at last year in New England and said, oh, yeah, that's a guy. That guy should be in the conversation for the best player in SimWorld Hoops. He ended up falling or getting his name into that conversation. That's because of Alyssa Dodge. That's because of her ability to showcase the talent on there. Now she's going to get DJ Wagner, who enters the season as, depending on who you ask, inarguably, if not arguably, the best player in SimWorld Hoops. That is an exciting pairing. Number 9, and these last couple teams are really here because they've got a person on that team that you just say, if he has the ball in his hands, we have complete faith in winning. And Lone Star Basketball at number 9 with Jace Miguez. When he was on the floor towards the end of the preseason tournaments, he was unconscious. That gives me enough confidence. And the fact that I think we have some stability at Lone Star. Texas teams, Lone Star and H-Town, have been up and down in terms of, do they actually have anybody here that, from a coaching standpoint, that we believe is actually going to be here in 3 days, let alone a week later. I think we do. I think that the fact that Jace Miguez has showed up gives me belief that Evan Adkins is there for the long haul. This is going to look awful in 2 weeks when the Lone Star things happen and Lone Star be Lone Star and he's gone. But as it stands right now, the addition of Jace Miguez gives me confidence that that's a team. And you throw in Ninny Gibson. There's no reason to suddenly start downing Ninny Gibson on the wing. But they actually have the type of lead star that you can win basketball games. And then number 10, Best Coast Ballers. Because at some point, Mikey Williams and Lysdarius Outlaw has to be a good combo, right? Like, I'm not crazy to think that to be true, but their output during the preseason tournament makes me think that's suddenly like I shouldn't be confident in that. But I'm going to hold out hope. I'm going to hold on to my investment property on Best Coast Ballers Island, but I'm not too far away from selling. All right, that's your top 10 in the Pointless Power Rankings. Have a great weekend. Congratulations again to all those who are signing and continue to sign. Keep that train rolling. We'll see you Tuesday.